I I implore you, DMs everywhere, players everywhere, please never do what was said just there. I'm not going to repeat it because no, 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 no. Please stop. Get some help. I don't know where you have to get it, but get it. DM, it's just like everything you could do wrong as a DM was done here. Everything, all of it, all the things. Everything. I will say I was running a session for some people the other day, um, and I put an NPC in there. It wasn't supposed to be a DM NPC because it was like it had a stab block and everything in like one of the books, and I accidentally might have made the fight a lot easier. So just learning from things. I mean, like sometimes you're gonna make mistakes like that as a DM. Yeah, because it was just a lot of poor planning on my part. I remember ended up looking at the stat block before the session. I was like, this is a CR10 creature. Why did I put this in here? I'm an idiot. But it was part of the story, so it just kind of had to work. But what just happened here is everything bad. Never, please, never do that. Please, please, please get some help. Please stop. You're ruining D&D. You make everything bad. Please stop. Thank you. I'm done with this story. Okay. Um. Okay. This one seems like a bit of a palate cleanser because that was horrible. Um. Okay. Continuing on. This one was posted by R Perrine, or it might be RP Arene or R Perrine. Okay. So thank you for this story. Hopefully it's not as bad as that last one. Okay. Um. This isn't nearly as bad as most of the stories I read on here, but I'm feeling the need to vent. Okay. Well, all stories are important. Not all stories, but a lot of stories, mostly. Anyway, I started a new Curse of Strahd campaign recently on Roll20. Cool. Never played Curse of Strahd. I've always heard it's very good. One of the fighter, had a bit of a min-max attitude, but I didn't think much of it. I run my games professionally as a deterrent against bad behavior, and I don't normally have a problem with players who are a bit power gamey. The ones I play with are good at dividing the line between their builds and their character while playing. Seems reasonable. The guy seemed to be familiar with the module. He kept saying things to other players like, "You want to play a drow? That's going to be hard to get away with in Barovia." I assured the whole group that I was fine with the character choices and didn't pay much heed to what, in retrospect, is an obvious red flag. Um, Fighter took Polar Master with a spear and shield, and the fighting style at level 1. Powerful, but built towards an almost Spartan flavor, so I was fine with allowing the choice. He also wanted to eventually take the Brute subclass. Normally, I avoid archived UA, but after looking it over, I wasn't too worried about balance. In my Session 0, I explained that when I build encounters, I like to keep it challenging enough for the players without outright killing them, without having to save them via DM fiat. I also expressed in several different places, both verbal and written, that my first and most important rule is to always prioritize players' fun over your own. Again, pretty reasonable. I don't know if I will say just a little kid. I don't say prioritize other people's fun over your own. I think it's important that you have fun, but I think maybe a better way to say it would be that you have fun, but you don't take away from everybody else's enjoyment. That makes sense. Like, I mean, it should be you should be helping to make other people have fun, but you should also be having fun. And I think I think your way of having fun should go along with the group style, because if your way of having fun is different from everybody else, then you probably shouldn't be in that group. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you should be like, I hope that this person has more fun than I do. Like, I think maybe that's not what this guy's saying, but that's how I read it, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But in general, I think that's like wanting everybody at the table to have fun is a good attitude to have. All right, just a little bit of a segue there. Okay. Um, we get to the session and everything seems to be going fine. I like to start campaigns in media res with the players stumbling into combat by chance and involves them rescuing the initial quest giver. Interesting. Combat goes well, and we move on to a more RP setting. That's when I get a private message. Why are you changing things for no reason? Boy, it's one of those guys. I've heard of this, but I didn't think I would ever run into it. If you're asking for a clarification, the response is, I've been running this game long enough to know that wolves have 11 HP. Okay. I explained to the player that 11 is just the average of its hit dice and that we were well within the stat block. He asked if I was pumping up the HP just because he made a character that could hit hard, and I told him no, thinking that the matter was settled for now with the knowledge that there should be a discussion after the session, like a normal person. Eventually, we make it to the opening dungeon and add another combat. And another combat, excuse me. I chose a more cinematic introduction to said combat rather than rolling for initiative first, and apparently that was too much. Um, Fighter states that he doesn't think he is a good fit for the campaign. Not a big issue because the rules are not being followed and it's unfair. The other players are confused, which begins a discussion over whether there even is a standard rule that has to be followed and whether the players should be thinking about the stat blocks even if they already know them, which they shouldn't be because that's called metagaming. Fighters start, and I mean, all of us have been known to metagame sometime or later. I'm guilty of it. As a DM, I know a lot of these stat blocks, but you don't. They're like it's going to be different from campaign to campaign because otherwise, if everyone DM'd and knew the stat blocks, it wouldn't be as fun, right? Shake it up a little bit. What the hell do I know? Fighter says he doesn't think he's good. Sorry. Think about even if they're Fighter starts shouting about how unfair I've been to him by making him less effective and means things everything. This will come out was against 4 enemies and he easily took out 2, dealing the most damage to a third. But apparently, I made him less effective by not letting him one shot everything. Yeah, just yeah, just just don't be a dick. Like power gaming, like if you're gonna power game, like do it with people who like doing it, and or just play Skyrim, because there's no other people in that game. You just play by yourself. You know, just play a single player game. Write a book. I don't know. Just don't play D&D. Please stop. Just I mean, I shouldn't say that, not necessarily, because power gaming can be if you want to do that and your group's okay with it, by all means do it. But like, if you're just like shitting the DM for not making you overpowered, like it's not fun for anyone. Okay, thank you, R. Perrine. That was a good story. I like that one. Let's see. Um, as an avid Critical Role fan, I am very interested in this post. Uh, because of the so-called I've heard people that they don't like calling it the Matt Mercer effect, but that's the most commonly known title of the Matt Mercer effect. Um, I've heard, I watched a really good video on about why we shouldn't call it that because it's not something that Matt Mercer can control. Um, it's more of like the professional GM effect is interesting was the way I saw it maybe being framed. Just for like people who like shows like Critical Role or like the Adventure Zone or like shows where there are like professional GMs who get like paid to do this, and people will come sometimes come into a campaign with the expectation that it will be exactly like Critical Role or that it and they'll like berate DM or other players for not playing like Critical Role, and I think that's a really shitty thing to do because it's really cool because um I didn't get into D&D through Critical Role. I had a group of friends, older friends that brought me into the hobby. I had always been kind of semi interested in it. Just like doing my own kind of thing that I did before 5e. I watched like the Yogscast play their own version of D&D, which was pretty interesting. It's actually probably how I was first introduced to it. Um, so I think Critical Role is great because it has brought a lot of people into D&D, and I love D&D. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. Helps me relax. Um, but when you like, not everything's gonna be like Critical Role, And I think there are a lot of people in the fandom that can separate that from their campaigns, and make it fun for everybody. And if you want to have like a Critical Role style campaign, find people who will do that for you. That's fine, but don't come to D&D with these expectations of that it's going to be exactly like Critical Role because these are professional voice actors, who have all the time in their hands to do these kind of things, and they get paid to do it. And so people who, working full-time jobs, even part-time jobs, or, are in school, doing work, like these people don't necessarily have the time to put all that effort, like the effort that it takes to do these kind of shows every week. Um, and so they're taking time out of their lives to do this kind of stuff for you, and so I think you should respect that, unless they were like a piece of shit, in which case you shouldn't. But in general,